Aloha, dear traders. Great to have you here today. It's another beautiful week. I hope our Muslim brothers and sisters enjoyed the Eid Kabir celebration. It was a great week last week with some good profits coming up for back to back. Whichever part of the world you're joining us from, Salbona, Mambo, welcome, Ekabo. I'm Atomashi Daniel, Vest Traders Global Market Analyst. And let's see what the market's cooking for us this week. So, as always, we're starting with our fundamental analysis. This week, we're looking at Euro USD, GBP USD, the USD JPY, the Bitcoin, and Ethereum. The key highlights for me for this week are the US CPI data, Consumer Price Index, that measures inflation in the US economy on the consumer end of things, and the UK GDP data measuring the gross domestic product from the UK. Another key data to pay attention to is the US Producer Price Index that also measures inflation on the producer end of things, as well as the University of Michigan's consumer sentiment data and inflation expectations data. So, if CPI is increased, it's the major inflation data that affects individuals. If CPI is increased, especially considering the Trump wars, tariff wars that Donald Trump started earlier in the year, then we should expect some weakness from the dollar across board. But if greater than expected or perhaps steady with expectations, then we might get a little bit of strengthening from the US dollar. Um, and if you add the fact that US and China have started trade talks this week, US China have resumed trade talks, we could get some strengthening if you add the CPI data, good CPI data, to that event. So that's that. And another thing to note is that Trump's corporate tax cut, if he moves up the ladder in Congress, of course, it's good for the dollar. It could strengthen up the US dollar. Um, in this case, we could see strong effects in the market as far as the major companies are concerned. Today, Tuesday, we have a somewhat technicals day because we don't expect any high impact news from the economic calendar. But Donald Trump speaks. And his speech, you have to pay attention to his speech because he could say things that usually strongly impact the markets, and it is doing so right now, today, right, rather, at a military event, an army event. Okay, yesterday was also quite technical. No major significant data or news was released. So that's that for the major pairs. For Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course, any tariff wars escalation or global uncertainties could push consumers or traders to begin to trade cryptocurrency as a sort of safe haven or a sort of um, quick quick money venture away from the forex market. So pay attention to that. That's for fundamental analysis. Now let's shift to the charts. Let's go to the charts. What do we have? So we're starting with um, Euro USD. Let's see what this guy has in store for us. First off, we see that it's currently formed playing around um, key level there, key psychological level 1.500. You can see that right there. Okay, and acting as resistance and support for lower levels in shorter time frames. I put it at 1.1350. That's the pink line right there. Okay, and what else do we see? Yeah, so earlier within the week, or I could say last week, yeah, we had price break strongly away from an ascending channel. Okay, went strongly bearish, captured all our take profit levels, all our weekly take profit levels given last week, by the way. Went back up to retest. As far as I'm concerned, it's been retesting and retesting and retesting. It has converted the support border of this channel into some sort of resistance. The last time it touched upon this support border of the channel, okay, was sometime around what date was that? Let's see, the 5th of June. Okay, last week. Now there was strong price rejection right there and seemed to have formed some sort of resistive patterns in form of perhaps maybe a heads and shoulders. Okay, so for me, my key resistance level is at 1.1437. If price is able to break past that, we could see it touch upon 1.1471. If it breaks above that 1.1500 psychological level and above that 1.1547, that's for resistance end for the euro for me this week. However, if it breaks below 1.1368, okay, we see some sort of other block level here. 1, 2, okay, maybe 3, 4, okay, and perhaps very close to it 5 at other block level. All right, if price breaks past that going down 1.1368, then we could see it touch upon 1.1335. Below that 1.1312, perhaps playing around 1.13 psychological level. And if it goes below that, we could see it touch upon 1.1267, and a clear break below that could see price touch 1.1231. My take on this guy, considering the fact that the US has resumed trade talks with China and the optimism that we could get a deal, also considering the fact that we have the CPI data coming this week. All right, my take is I favor bearish positions on the Euro USD. I favor bearish positions on the Euro USD. All right, especially with the fact that it has formed strong price rejection right here with the heads and shoulders pattern. All right, I favor bearish positions, but I'm open to short bullish ones, okay, on high probability moves. That's for the Euro USD. Now, there's something else on the Euro USD. We see that if you look carefully on the 1 hour chart, it looks like since the 30th of June, right around the 30th of June till now, it's not broken below the 200-day moving average. So for me, also a key break below the 200 MA going down and the same other block level of 1.1368 could trigger strong bearish moves. Pay attention to that. That's for Euro USD. Let's move on. The pound. Now, the pound has formed negative divergence on the daily chart and the 4-hour chart. Would you look at that? Divergence on 2 major time frames. Right there. Divergence. Right? Now, the same 4-hour chart seems to have formed some sort of key resistance level around the psychological level of 1.3600. Okay? And seem to have formed also reversal patterns around there. So, what are my target levels? If price is able to break above 1.3600 going up, then my next target level will be 1.3668. Above that, perhaps the psychological level of 1.3700. On the flip end, we also see some sort of other block level here, 1, 2, 3, that has formed significant support. If price breaks below that, which is 1.3422, we could see it touch upon 1.3393. If it goes below that, perhaps 1.3357. Below that also perhaps 1.133320 and the psychological level of 1.3300. That's the pound. Now, on scalping moves for the GBP USD and intraday positions in the short term, it seems to have excuse me, formed a very strong bearish gradient right here. Very sharp bearish gradient. Relying on that trend angle. The trend angle seems very sharp. Look at this. Look at this trend angle. Okay, follow the red lines. The trend angle seems very, very sharp. Okay, now what do we do? So, if price, for me, breaks below 1.3483 today, okay, then I will target lower levels on scalping moves to 1.3473. Scalping moves in the short term. GBP USD, ladies and gentlemen, pound USD. Okay, let's move on to the next. Now we have the USD JPY. Of course, We know it's been moving nicely along an ascending channel on the weekly chart. It's right around the support border of that channel, still playing around it, as you can see right there. On the 4-hour chart, it seems to have formed two key areas based on patterns. We see significant swing high here, another significant swing high, and then a swing high here, right around 145.96. And if you want to be technical, perhaps 146.00 psychological level. Okay, if price breaks above that, we could see it touch upon higher levels. Now, key support area also, another key other block level here, 1 2 3 4 5 6, very significant. If price breaks below that guy, 142.40, then we could see it touch upon lower levels. Now, in the short term, okay, if it breaks above 145.06 psychological level based on the significant high it has formed here and here, okay, then we could see it touch upon higher levels at 1.4527, above that 4551, above that 4585, above that 146.00 psychological level. But if it breaks below other block level here, we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 reactions around that level. Okay, then we could see it if it touch upon 144.03. In other words, if it breaks past 144.40 on a downtrend, then we could see it touch upon the psychological level of 144.0003. If it goes below that, perhaps 143.61. Below that, if you want to be conservative on scalping moves, somewhere around 143.46. Okay, key level to watch, scalping or intraday position. And if it goes below that, we could see it touch 143.26. Okay, that's for the USD yen. Now, what's my take on this guy? Well, because of how it looks right now, okay, and the fact that it's formed reversal patterns around the support border of the channel, I favor bullish positions. I favor bullish positions on the USD yen, but I'm open to short-term bearish positions. I favor bullish positions, but I'm open to short-term bearish positions. That's for the USD JPY. Now the almighty Bitcoin. This guy is very funny. We have a channel formed right around the 1st of May, right? Now, projecting that channel upwards, price seemed to have reacted to the resistance border of that channel. Very tricky. Okay, just yesterday, formed some sort of price rejection. All right, and is currently reacting to it, and is also looking like he's reacting to the support border of that channel. You see how tricky this guy is. Broke past it here at the 4th of June, was strongly bearish, and went back up again to behave and act within the borders of the channel. Very tricky. Very tricky. So, again, we see it break below a trend line, okay, on the daily chart. All right, and it's going back up right now. Went back up. If you use the channel I just showed you as a reference point, for me, a key break above in the short term for scalping moves, key break above this trend line right here, and 109.314 could see price touch upon 109.956. If it goes above that, perhaps 109.809. If it goes above that, 110.040. That's 110,000. That's on intraday position. Okay. Now, for major moves, if price breaks above 109.818 strongly, then we could see it touch upon in longer term 111.692 on Vestrado's platform. If it goes above that, we could see it touch upon 113.025. You can see the levels right there. You can see the levels right there, 113.025. Okay, now on the flip side, if it heads below my key area of 108.344, Okay, we could see price touch upon 107277 going down, and below that 106498, below that 105718. Now why is this my key support area? Look, this looks like some sort of fair value gap, and the recovery of the fair value gap occurs right around here and here. If price is able to recover the gap and break below it, then we could see it touch upon lower levels. Hence, that's my support. What else? Look, significant high right here around what date was this? Yeah, the 17th of December, thereabout. That was a significant resistance point which we have converted to support. Okay, if price is able to strongly go below that, because it's been struggling around that price level, then we could see a strong move, okay, around that time. What else? So that's that for Bitcoin. In the short term, I favor bullish positions, breaking the trend line discussed on the 30 minutes chart right here and the 5 minutes chart. I favor bullish positions going up, okay, touching upon higher levels in the short term. But if I see a break of key support level, then I'm open to bearish positions. Bitcoin is not determined on, it's not set on where it wants to go right now. Hence, I'm more in favor of short-term bullish and short-term bearish moves on Bitcoin. Now, finally, the last but not the least, Ethereum. Ethereum has formed a range. Okay, a range. Look, key range existing around 2438.4 on Vestrados platform. That's for support. Why? We see price react to that level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 9 times. That's a strong order block level right there. So if price for me breaks below that, then we could see it touch upon lower levels 236.1. If it goes below that 2321.2, below that 2288.0, and below that 2231.3. But the key resistance area here, based on reactions around this level, psychological level of 2700. Okay, the psychological level of 2700. 1, 2, 3, 4. If price goes above that, we could see it touch upon 2760.8, above that 2813.3, and above that 2877.8. Okay, you can see the price rejection right there and reaction at these levels 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. Strong order block level. Pay attention right now to Ethereum because it's moving around that price level. In the short term, however, we know that it broke below our channel from 2 weeks ago and last week, touched upon the 200-day moving average, captured almost all our take profit levels, and right now it's looking like it's trying to retest the support border of the channel. The support border of the channel right around here. Of course, it has retested it several times here already, but right now it seems to be reacting to it based on the price rejection it formed after touching the psychological level of 2700. Hence, in the short term, a break of 2657.5 could see price touch 2669.9, above that 2682.6, and above that back to the psychological level of 2702. Now, as I said before, above 2702 we could see touch upon higher levels, especially above the 200-day moving average we see here on the daily chart. Okay, that's the weekly outlook for the pairs this week. I hope you make some good profits. I wish you a very, very, very profitable week. I'll see you again next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.